It's raining and it's so cold, which is hilarious, that I've actually pulled out my little baby fan heater from under the couch, and I'm going to put the fan heater on, which is just blowing my mind that it was like so swelteringly hot, 39 degrees yesterday, and today is like flannels and jeans, and I'm still a bit chilly, and turning the heater on, just being able to curl up here and watch Philly and Keely's latest update. They're my favorite YouTubers ever. And do my own editing for some videos that I've been taking. And once again, everyone's left first thing in the morning. There's only 2 other caravans here. Nobody hangs around. They just go. I'm seeing this every little town I go to. They roll in the afternoon. They roll out in the morning. I really wonder how much of Australia these people really see, these caravanners that I meet on the road. I'm like, yeah, I guess they see a lot of road.
Subscribers, fair play to you, because those videos were terrible.
We had you weight off our chests, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't know how it felt.
Yes.
Good.
It feels good, guys. It feels good.
Unfortunately, all the video I took about my time in Wilcannia, the microphone wasn't working, and I have no audio for it, which I'm really bummed about, because I had such a story I wanted to tell you guys about why it was that I extended my stay here from the initial one night that I'd intended to stay, and ended up spending a whole week here. And it was basically because every single caravanner and every single person I told them about the route that I was taking was telling me, do not stop in Wilcannia. Don't get petrol there, don't stay there, just don't go there. And that it was dangerous or something. They never really said exactly why. And of course, I don't like being told what to do by anybody. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go into town and I'm going to walk around and I'm going to suss this place out and find out why everybody would tell me not to stop in this town. This is the Darling River. And the caravan park's on one side of it and the town's on the other over this bridge. You can see how high that river once was. Apparently back in its heyday, this town used to have, like, it was a major port. Like, they had big paddle steamer ships coming up and down this river, transporting goods and things from all the different areas. And so the river's gone right down low, and quite clearly big boats wouldn't be able to go through there anymore. And that's been from a lot of, there's been a lot of irrigation with cotton farms and things like that further upstream. So that does affect the level of the river. And, if you've watched the news at all, you'd be aware of the fact that the Murray-Darling River system has suffered quite a lot, and it isn't as healthy as it once was and as vibrant and flowing, although they do get floods that come through, and obviously, it'll rise again. It's just the sort of cycle of things. But anyway, it's been very much a part of the river. The river has been a very much part of Wilcannia and its history, and also its heritage with regards to the Aboriginal culture and history of the people of this area, and their relationship to the river is very, very strong, and that's indicated in lots of the artwork and murals and these informational signs that you can see all around town. So I decided to go for a little walk, and actually, I want to meet some people. I want to talk to some locals. One thing I had to do was go into the actual council office when I went to extend my stay. I just wanted to make sure that they wouldn't put me, if I booked it online, they would have put me in a different site. So I thought, I'll just walk up to the council office, because I looked up on the maps and saw that it was just across the river and around the corner. I'll go into the council and I will actually tell them that I want to stay an extra couple of nights and pay for it there. So this is me just basically trying to work it out where I have to go, and I'm going to kind of show you around the town. And that's the post office behind me over there. Obviously, there was a lot of commentary about the different buildings when I do my little walkie-talkies. It's another little walkabout that I really wanted to do while I kind of told you some more about the history of the place. And now I'm just voice-overing this off the cuff, because I can't remember what I actually said at the time. But I was probably telling you pretty much what I'm telling you now, that everyone kept telling me not to stop here. And of course, that piqued my curiosity, because I wanted to know why I wouldn't stop here. One of the first things I noticed about walking around Wilcannia is that there were no people. There were some lovely old buildings everywhere. This was like an old mechanic, by the look of it, service station, something like that. Across the road was a pharmacy. Everything looked closed. Everything was sealed up, closed up. There were a lot of security screens and doors, and all the windows were all screened up. And I actually thought that the chemist across the road was closed because it looked all sealed up. But then when I walked past on the way back down, I noticed it had a sign that said open out the front. This is the council building. Isn't it beautiful? Back in its heyday, it used to be a bank, I think, and that's the river goes down there. So all these really magnificent old kind of 1800s buildings that show that this was quite a vibrant, thriving town, a major port town back in the day in the 1800s. But I just wanted to go in and extend my camping fee. So I went inside the office, into the council office, and they had a lot of tourist information inside there as well for me, which was really nice. The staff behind the counter was super friendly, and they gave me a little map to use to walk around the whole of Wilcannia that shows you all the historic buildings that you have around town and when they were built, and a little bit about each of the buildings that you can kind of have a little walking tour around town. So I decided, let's go do that. Unfortunately, you can't hear me telling you all about the things that I'm reading on the map about this building behind me, except that I do remember that it was built in, I think it was 1887, so I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, I basically just walked around and pointed out the same buildings that were in the map and just give you a little bit of history about it. So, but it was all around 1800s. That's basically mainly all you need to know. This is the pharmacy across the road that I had thought had been closed, but then I saw cars out the front and I'm thinking, well, they must be open. But yeah, as you walk past, you see all these sort of like high strength security screens and things like that makes you think. And I started noticing that everywhere in all the buildings, and that got me really curious. I'm thinking, okay, so maybe it's not a safe place. Like, why have they got everything all screened up and boarded up, and you know, like the super security there, you see, now open? It didn't look open at all. That made me really wonder, you know. So I started thinking, what's going on in this town? Like, one, where are all the people? Why is nobody else walking around? It's like a ghost town. And two, what's the security issue? Like, what are we protecting ourselves against here? Of course I wanted to know more. And the only way I could really find out that was to find some locals and actually talk to them. So that's what I did. I kept walking down the street. There's a beautiful, they're going to be opening up a new cultural centre here in this building on the corner. They're going to call it the Barker Centre, and Barker is the local Aboriginal word for river. So they're very much the river people. The Wilcannia people are people of the river. You can see the artwork across the road there, which is all about that. So this isn't opened yet, but it will be opening. And then there was this beautiful old church. There was just beautiful buildings everywhere, and you can sort of go on this little historical tour and walk around the whole place and see, you know, all the different lovely buildings and when they were built, and just, you know, get a little feel for the history of the town. But what I was interested in was the cultural history as far as the First Nations people that obviously lived here. Like, I'd say it's quite a strong Aboriginal community, and I gathered that just from, you know, the signs around the place, and also the shop across the road. There's a supermarket, sort of, it's not even really a supermarket, it's basically it's like a convenience store type of thing with really overpriced groceries. And I was kind of concerned about that. Like, I was thinking, gosh, like a bottle of tomato sauce that normally is $2 something at the supermarkets I've been to was $7.60. You know, like, it was just really, really overpriced, and I didn't think that was very fair. I did end up talking to a few different people. So in my discovery of what makes Wilcannia, I spoke to a lovely young Aboriginal fella. And when I say young, he's probably like late 20s, 30s. We had a really lovely chat. He was a bit standoffish to me at first, but when I explained to him that I just want to know more about the town, then he was happy to chat to me. And he'd grown up there, and he said, yeah, look, I said, what's the problem? Why do people tell me not to stop here? And he said, well, you know, there have been times when some of the young ones, they run amok and they get into mischief, you know. And I said, well, yeah, but my son used to do that on the Sunshine Coast, run around and get into mischief. That's just kids. That's what they do, you know. So, and I said, oh, what, but you're all grown up and responsible now, right? And he just sort of smiled and laughed. And, you know, he said, and he admitted to me, like, he was, once he realized I wasn't, you know, a cop or trying to, you know, suss him out or something. And was genuinely curious. And he really opened up about the culture there and explained that, you know, some of the old ones, he said, they just get on the drink, you know, and they've got like just, yeah, that they're not really watching over the young ones, and the young ones kind of run amok, and that had been pretty much the problem in the past. Another person I interviewed was I interviewed a few different people, but I didn't film them and record them, because I find that when you really want people to talk, it's better off you just let them talk. Put the camera away, put the microphone away, and just let people talk. And I could then retell you the information that I got given without identifying them or, you know, putting them on the spot, which I wouldn't want to do. But so I won't use any names, even though I was given names. I did speak to a business owner, a mechanic that works there, sometimes gets sort of, you know, contract work through the government, locals who had lived there for a while, and also a local policeman. And he was actually really awesome to talk to, like super intelligent guy, like obviously really knew his stuff, and he really knew a lot about the culture here. And he told me about the importance of the river to these people. And in amongst all our talks, because I said, what is the go? Is it dangerous here? He said, no, not really. He said, look, our main problem here is domestic violence, and that's mainly due to overcrowding, that the housing, there's just not enough housing to house people, so there's too many people living together under the one roof, and they're just frustrated and they get annoyed with each other, and that causes domestic violence situations. And, you know, sometimes the kids run around town and they just run amok. But that's any little country town I've been to, whether it's black, white, or otherwise, you know, like little kids who are bored will do stuff, and if the parents aren't paying attention, that'll happen. That's the post office, isn't it gorgeous? He said to me, don't underestimate the importance of the river to these people. He said, as a community, they have a saying, when the river is up, when the river is high, they feel good. When the river is down, they feel low. And he said it's been just like they're so connected to that river that it really does make a difference. And at the moment, it is quite low. They used to be able to go swimming in the river, and they had picnics beside the river, and the river was so much, they go fishing in the river. You know, the river was their life. It's their lifeline. And then I started realizing that I understood that feeling, because I thought about the times I've been spending on rivers since I started this journey. It suddenly was like, oh my goodness, this makes sense to me now, you know? Bixie, would you like to have some dinner? Want to have some dinner? Want dinner? Or would you like some walkies? Say walkies and dinner. That's what you want. Okay, I get it. Walkies and dinner it is. It's another bloody beautiful day in Wilcannia. How lovely. So quiet, so peaceful. I just extended my stay for another 2 days. You know, I like a place when I keep extending, right? It's just absolutely peaceful. I'm feeling absolutely exhausted. I've kind of gotten to a hit the wall kind of point where the thought of actually rolling on, I just really need just to stop and sit for a minute. And I haven't finished with this town yet. I really haven't. I'm loving the way that the previous sort of few places I've stopped and stayed at have sort of segued really beautifully into this experience here. And the story just, like, yeah, I was talking to my friend Lisa yesterday. She said it's kind of like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle coming together. And I said, it actually really is. Like, it's feeling like each experience is building on the previous experience to the point where it just starts making sense. You know, things that were confusing start making sense, because I realized that there was a real story to tell here. And that's the journalist in me, you know, like I'm never going to stop being a storyteller, and wanting to capture moments that, you know, and make people think in a different way about why we just maintain the story that we constantly been told and assumed that it's right. That's one thing I learned about, when I was studying journalism and delving into what is the news and finding out that a lot of time the news isn't the truth and what you hear isn't always the truth. And in this particular instance, this particular town's story, you're not hearing the whole truth. And if I could just change your perception in just a tiny way and make you think differently about this place, then that would make me feel so proud. Like that would make my heart sing, actually, because that's how I feel about this place, and I feel a real strong connection. I would love to get more stories. I'm just very, very cautious about not filming anybody that might not want to be filmed. I can collect their stories by listening, and I can relay what was told to me without, putting anyone in the spotlight, because this is my story. This is my story about a story, and it's not my story to tell somebody else's story. You know what I mean? I'm just telling you what I see and how I see and perceive things, and so you can see the world through my eyes. And hopefully, if I could, yeah, I just want to make this world a better place in a little way, and yeah, I'd like to do it here. Not the caravan. In preparation for my trip to Broken Hill and Silverton, where they filmed the Mad Max movies, I decided I'd better download and watch Mad Max 2 just to remember and get an idea of where exactly I was heading. I didn't end up watching the whole movie because it's kind of not really my style, but it did bring back a lot of memories from the days when it came out, and I remember all the boys being really into it. Monday, look out! And then that afternoon, like I had done pretty much every afternoon when I was staying in Wilcannia, I decided to do another little walkie-talkie tour around town. What I'm pointing out to you behind here is the Queen's Head Hotel, 24-room hotel. And I was really curious, because I always look up on realestate.com to see what's available and what's for sale, that this place had recently sold for $330,000, which I thought was pretty amazing considering it was a huge hotel with lots of rooms available. When I've been talking to the policeman, the cop, which is that courthouse behind me there, he said that this building behind me now, this one on the corner, they were actually going to turn it into a domestic violence shelter for women who needed somewhere to stay. But apparently the foundations of the building weren't solid enough, and unfortunately, after they'd started doing a lot of work to it, they had to basically condemn the building and not deem it not fit for purpose. So there is no current domestic violence shelter for women that need time out. And I'd been kind of thinking, well, what about that building across the road, the Queen's Head Tavern, if it had 24 rooms? That would have been a perfect place to build a shelter for people. But anyway, so yeah, he said a lot of the buildings that are sort of shuttered up and empty, they are because there are building issues, like the dirt around the river. There's a lot of soft ground. This is the beautiful courthouse, and it's right next to the police station there, with beautiful old buildings from the 1880s. Yeah, a lot of them are made out of the stone from the area. But yeah, sometimes because they were made out of stone and the ground underneath isn't super solid, some of them do have foundation issues. So, because I said, well, I see empty houses. And he said, yeah, if they're empty, it's because they're not actually deemed livable. And this is the local cop shop behind me here. That's where I met the lovely policeman who sat on the street out there. We just stood outside there just chatting for probably about 40 minutes about the situation. He had a lot to say about the government and policies and housing situation, and we really had a really good chat about stuff. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. Really smart young guy, knew his stuff and was very sensitive culturally. I think he was really kind of yeah, he was just a really open-minded, nice person, and I really appreciated what he had to say about the housing situation. And we chatted about it, and I was like, well, why doesn't the government build more housing out here to help these people? If that's the problem, if it's overcrowding that's causing problems, then surely building more houses out here would be a good thing. Of course, I'd already looked on realestate.com and there was no houses for sale or rent in the whole of Wilcannia, but I did find this place as I was walking around that had a for sale sign out the front and it said $75,000, the one with the blue fence. That was the only place I could find for sale in the whole town. So I don't know who owns all the properties, and I was curious about that, especially some of the historic buildings and things. I'm wondering who owns all these buildings. And this house on the corner I found absolutely beautiful. Just that real old stonework kind of 1880s type housing that's absolutely lovely. Yeah, really, really like this place. But yeah, they obviously need more housing. And I was really surprised at the pretty blatant racism when you talk to people about, why couldn't we do more to help these people that really, really need some help. And it was, I won't even repeat the things that were said to me, but, if you're an Australian and you've probably heard what people say, and yeah, it's not cool. I don't think it's fair. And I know that as I was walking around recording this video, I started saying, like, I've got a funny feeling that this whole don't stop here mindset was purely based on racism, which I think was unwarranted. I, as a solo female, walked around here every day. The whole week I was in Wilcannia, every day I walked around the streets, round and round and round. I spoke openly with people that when I did see anyone out there to talk to, and I did not in 1 minute feel unsafe in any way, shape or form. And I thought to myself, who are these people who've been passing on this rumour from caravanner to caravanner to caravanner saying don't stop in Wilcannia, it's not safe? It's just a rumour that's just continued to spread. And judging by the amount of people that rolled into that caravan park at Wilcannia at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon and rolled out the next morning at 7 o'clock, and that this has been happening in every town I've gone to, and I've been wondering, did you actually hang out in the town? Did you talk to some people? Did you walk around like I have? Did you get to know the place? Did you see what it has to offer and what's beautiful about it? Did you linger long enough to know? And a lot of them just didn't. So I'm thinking this is almost like a rumor that just continues on by uninformed people spreading this rumor and taking away from people who should be proud of the beautiful town that they live in and should feel like, it just annoyed me that they would be so put down like that by people that don't even have a bloody clue, don't even have the mindset or open-heartedness to go and actually hang out and chat to people like I did. Like, I really enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed my connection with the people. I enjoyed talking to people. I enjoyed getting a taste of the historical buildings and the river and the history of the place. And if you do go to Wilcannia, do walk around, do interact, can we please stop this whole vicious smear campaign on this beautiful little town? Please stop in Wilcannia. Please support this little town, and please open your eyes and realize that you've been fed a lie based on racism, which is just not cool in this day and age. If you had been brought up in a culture that had been systematically repressed, suppressed, diluted, treated like crap, been given no hope for the future, like tried to eliminate you for generations and generations and generations, do not underestimate the impact of generational trauma. I personally have been to generational trauma, and I'm just a white fella, but there, just the horrible slurs that I hear against people, First Nations people of this country, really upset me and really shocked me, because I think it would literally take generations and generations and generations of reparations that are owed and due in order for this culture to gain back the full pride. I mean, how many of us have spent everyone's obsessed with 23andMe and all these, you know, genealogy sites to find out our heritage and culture. Like, we're all such a mixture of this, that, and the other thing. We don't really know where we belong. We don't know where our home is. We don't have that sense of belonging. You know, these people, First Nations people, have been here on this land, Australia, for tens of thousands of years, like 50, 60,000 years now. Long line of beautiful culture and heritage and connection to the land, and beautiful dreamtime spirituality stories. Their connection to the land and the mountains and the rivers is so beautiful, and the stories and the dreamtime stories, the way they go on country and feel that sense of connection. That's what I was trying to do as a mixture person from God knows where. I want to feel connected to my country. These people have a connection that I think we would all actually wish we had, that pure connection to our country. So we should be just so celebrating the fact that we have a connection to an ancient culture that's been in this country since long before any of us got here. I just have no tolerance for racism when it comes to First Nations people of any country, but especially not of our country. And I think the way that we've been treating these people throughout history is just abominable, and they deserve all our respect and gratitude for being custodians of a land that we so appreciate now. Look, I realise that my personal viewpoints on this might not agree with everybody, and there may be some people that choose to unsubscribe from watching my channel because of my very strong viewpoints on this subject matter. But I do feel empathy and compassion for all people of the world, and I just really felt it so strongly here. Like, I just felt, my heart literally felt sad for the transgressions that the whole community of people have endured over the years. And I just really felt like if there was something I could have done to make it a little bit better, then I would have been able to, I would have wanted to do that, you know. I didn't know what it was, but I thought, well, maybe if I can just tell people just to please change the narrative that tells everyone to don't stop in Wilcannia, and please stop, and please walk around, and please connect the way I tried to do while I was there, and hopefully give these people a little bit of a sense of pride, because I'm pretty sure that being told that you live in a town that everyone doesn't want to stop in would make you feel pretty crappy about yourself. So there's no reason to not stop in Wilcannia. It's a beautiful place. The caravan park is lovely. I really enjoyed my stay there. I'm bummed I didn't get to kayak on the Darling River because it was so low and I was too scared to clamber down that bank and back up it again with a kayak. But I really, really had a wonderful week, and thank you, Wilcannia, and thank you to everyone who took the time and stopped to talk to me and help me get this story together.